Coming up on Chasing the Natty, we're concluding Dynasty Month with a bang as I have three awesome guys who are all going to participate in a freshman and supplemental draft for CFF Dynasty with myself. We'll be going through three different rounds on this draft, talking about the freshmen we're ready to invest in, as well as some of those guys who are widely available that could help you win your leagues this year. Afterwards, we're going to want to hear from you guys on which one of us drafted the best. All this and more coming right after this.
Cutting, mesmerizing run by the quarterback.
Marvin Harrison Jr. touchdown. Marvelous Marv.
Home next to the end zone. Dropped it in for Franklin. Oh, majestic touchdown.
This is Chasing the Natty, a college fantasy football podcast. All right, welcome in, everybody. This is Jared Palmgren, host of the Chasing Natty podcast. I hope you guys are having a wonderful ride to your work on this Monday morning. Man, it felt good to say that again. It has been way too long, y'all. Really hope you guys enjoyed the last 2 weeks with Justice, Chris, and Ethan covering the supplemental and freshman players. Again, had some stuff come up in my life. If you've been following my Twitter, you guys know what was kind of going on there and everything. Really appreciate those guys for stepping up. As well as shout out to Nate and Brandon, really the entire CFF team over at Campus Canton. All of them were pretty much ready to hop on the spot and help me out these last 2 weeks. So really thank you to all of those guys. We're going to kind of accumulate everything that we've been talking about this CFF Dynasty Month with a freshman and supplemental draft here today. And in order to do that, I figured just going back and forth with one person would be kind of boring. Let's go and bring three different people on. So guys, we got three awesome guys here today. We got Mr. Brandon Sanders, host of the Future Freshman podcast. We got our wonderful Nate Marchese returning. And then, of course, we had to bring on one extra, and that is Mr. Andrew P. Katz from the Burning the Red Shirt podcast. Got a lot of great guys over here for you guys. A lot of great different perspectives coming in here. So first, who do I start with here? You know what? I'll start with the guy over there on the left. Brandon, how you doing today, sir?
Yeah, I'm just super excited to be on and just putting some of that stuff that we had to use over the past few weeks over the Future Freshman podcast and seeing where some of these players are going to start to land uncharted territories. I'm enjoying this. It'll be fun.
Yeah, the supplemental drafts have definitely always been one of the more interesting aspects of CFF because there really isn't just any content out there whatsoever regarding them, and nobody's going to really want to run a mock draft of them out there too often because there's not really a good way to monetize that or anything like that. So this is why we're doing it here. In addition to Brandon, we got, again, our wonderful Nate Marchese back on the pod. Nate, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm great. I guess it's nice to be back on. I had to dust off the microphone, pull it out of my daughter's toy chest, figure out how this works again. I'm shocked that you got myself and Andrew on to come on for a dynasty mock. This goes against every fiber of my fantasy soul to divulge this type of information, but yet here I am, gonna give it my best shot here.
I literally went up to Andrew and I was just like, "Hey, Andrew, we got a supplemental draft in like 2 weeks. You want to get a little practice in?" He was just like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So didn't take that much convincing.
Deep down, I think this is you just trying to get a free answer sheet on what's coming up with our dynasty draft here over the next month or so. But hey, I think I love talking freshman supplemental. So this is my favorite format. I love doing dynasty. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
Alrighty, speaking of go ahead, Andrew. I was going to introduce you, but if you just want to talk over me, that's all good, man.
No, yeah, I'll take it from here. I didn't really read your invite when you were asking me what I wanted to be a part of, but I knew that on BTR Burning Red Shirt that I was looking to drive forward an initiative of trying to get conference previews going, and I knew I needed you to come on for the SEC show. So I was like, whatever Jared needs, like let's do some quid pro quo. here. So make sure I'm in good with him.
Hey man,
But
I'm okay with that arrangement.
Yeah. But so I've come to a realization recently, actually, that some of the podcasts that I enjoy most are those where the people that are involved are very much invested to learn from the parties that they're interacting with on the podcast. Like a great example is the summer school stuff that Bud Elliott does. Like you could tell he's only doing this because he needs
He's
to
got bets to make.
further his knowledge so that
Exactly.
he can then go and bet with that information. And I appreciate that, as opposed to someone that just like kind of writes a script of questions to like go and fill content time or whatever. Like we're all like, when I'm listening to something, largely it's because I'm looking to learn one way or another and then use that information. So that's what I'm looking to do here. That's why I'm on with you guys. Like I want to learn from you as someone who doesn't really have that freshman knowledge base.
Yeah, and like I want to do content like this because I like Nate. I love CFF Dynasty. I think it's a ton of fun, and I think a lot of people don't really play it because there isn't a ton of content out there to kind of lean on and kind of see, oh, what is everybody else kind of thinking? It feels like you're kind of shooting everything in the dark, so it feels a little overwhelming when you get it there. So I'm happy I was able to get all three of you guys on. Again, all three of you, I've played in leagues with all three of you, and you guys all three have very different ways of going about it. So this really should be a ton of fun. Again, Brandon, you got a ton of freshman knowledge. Andrew, like you said, you don't really do freshmen, but I get your big on supplemental. And then Nate, you can just be the guy that forgot that there's a draft today, and then you can, and then you got to fly by the seat of your pants. So
That's exactly what's happening.
Let's have fun with this, y'all. But first, you know what I got to do? Got to give the spiel out here. And sorry, y'all, got to cover your faces here for just this part. If you want to support what we are doing here for college fantasy, make sure you go and subscribe to campusofcanton.com, where we have all of our written content, tools, and everything you need for all of your CFF, C2C, Devi, and even college IDP fantasy needs. Got tons of great stuff coming your way. Make sure you follow myself on Twitter at CFF_Jared, as well as the show's Twitter at Chasing the Natty. Definitely got to keep an eye out for that Chasing the Natty Twitter account, because we got live drafts coming up here soon, y'all, and that's going to be the place where you're going to want to keep an eye on things in order to be able to sign up for those live drafts on the weekend. So stay tuned for that. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you comment, like, and subscribe, all those wonderful things I ask you to do every single week. We do have a goal of hitting 1,000 subscribers by the start of the season, and I think that should be kicking up here pretty soon. And then if you're listening to this on podcast, make sure you follow. Leave those 5-star reviews wherever you can, and those written reviews if you're on Apple Podcasts. Love seeing those. Shout out to our awesome CFF team over at Campus of Canton, where without them, really, we couldn't do half the content that we do here. Again, myself, Nate Marchese, Brandon Sanders, Chris K, Chris Moxley, Ethan Sowers, Justin Leo, aka Volume Pigs on Twitter, and then Justice as well. All of them are awesome. All right, gentlemen, let's get over to the meat of this. What we're going to do is, first things first, I am going to play I was going to play a video. There we go. All right. I'm going to play a 100-yard rush video. This is determining our draft order right here. And while this is going, I think we can take a few minutes to just kind of discuss, before we get into the draft, what's kind of your overall strategy when you get into a freshman and supplemental draft? Like we kind of talked about at the top of the show, not really much out there. Everybody has their own individual ways they go about it. So Brandon, we'll start with you over there on the left. What is kind of your overall strategy whenever you go into a freshman supplemental draft?
So in the first couple rounds, I always look for, it's going to pretty much be like we've talked about before, where you're looking for the guys that are going to be the biggest difference. So the guys that are going to really, really stand out, whether that's a freshman, whether that's a supplemental player that can kind of impact right away. I'm looking for one that's going to, pretty much be the like the foundation pieces, or the future foundation pieces that have already got pieces in play. So say if I'm good at quarterback, then I'm going to look at where my weakness is, and I'm going to shoot for that, for example. But mainly it's just looking for those studs, those 5-star kids that are coming in, or it's a big supplemental guy that's going to fall in the first or second rounds. That's who I'm looking for usually in the first few rounds.
Gotcha. Nate, what about you, man? What are you looking for in these first couple rounds?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to freshman supplemental, a lot of it also kind of depends on what my roster configuration looks like. I mean, I'm always trying to win that particular year. So I do feel like supplementals are becoming more and more of a factor early in drafts, just because we are seeing so many D2 type guys transfer up and land in some pretty interesting spots. But yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on what my roster configuration looks like. If I got a lot of young guys, then maybe I go for some more supplementals and vice versa. It just kind of depends on that.
Yep. Andrew, what about you, man?
Kind of a kid in a candy store, kind of just grabbing what I like. But what I like, there are criteria there, right? Less so. So one of the things being that we only have these guys really for a maximum usually of like four years. So when you're thinking about things from a dynasty perspective, like lifetime value and stuff like that you think of if you're playing NFL dynasty, like it's so different. Especially when for so many of these kids, you can knock a year, maybe two of them, a year or two off of what they're actually going to do from a production perspective, just as a result of having to move up depth charts and stuff like that. So generally, I'm only looking to target the freshmen that are either likely to see the field early on or bring talent that translates so nicely to fantasy that waiting that year plus is really likely to pay off and be worth it. Otherwise, I think I can kind of move that guy down relative to some more short-term value that I might find through someone who's a little older.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in a similar range or a similar mindset as you, Andrew, where I kind of have a clear elite tier of freshmen that I am willing to target, either because I think that they are going to have an immediate impact or because they're in that beautiful fantasy system, say like Tennessee, Ohio State. Like I'm willing to wait a year or two because I know that when they do eventually get on the field, they're going to be fantastic when they do. But then again, and you'll notice this as I probably draft today, I kind of switched over to supplemental a little bit earlier than I was kind of expecting myself to. Once I had all the names kind of in front of me, I'm like, you know what? Like if I'm in a dynasty league, like yeah, some of these guys only have like 1 to 2 years left of eligibility, but like Nate said, a lot of these drafts are quickly becoming, you got to win now because you have no idea what to predict 2 years down the line. It's not like an NFL team where you expect a guy, if he signs a 4-year contract, boom, he's going to be there for 4 years. So I think that that's kind of my overall approach. And I'm definitely one of those guys where before I hit the young guys too much, like especially after like the supplemental pick or that kind of first tier of supplemental picks, I like to make sure that I look at my starting roster and I'm good with my starting roster. And then I'm willing to kind of take a few more shots on the younger guys that fall down there. And there's some good young guys that fall every year. Like last year I got Jaden Ott in like the 12th round of a supplemental draft. And he was absolutely bananas for me last year. I probably shouldn't have mentioned that name in the presence of Nate Marchese right now, but it's all good. Anyway,
I love Jaden Ott. I love Jaden Ott, man. I love it. I love it even more whenever other people draft him.
Yes, absolutely. Let me go over real quick for those of you listening and everything how this is basically going to work. We're going to have 2 minutes per pick. What is going to happen is that the timer will start. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, for those of you who are not watching on YouTube, the order for today is Brandon will go first. He'll have the 101, 105, and 109 pick. I will go second. I have the 102, 106, 110. Nate, you go third with the 103, 107, and the 111. And then Andrew, you will have the 104, 108, and 112. We're going to have 2 minutes per pick. During those 2 minutes, we will explain who we are picking, and then we will, and then once we kind of finish explaining why we're picking that person, we'll put it into the draft, and then we'll move on to the next person. So, gentlemen, do you guys have any questions before we get started?
No, nope. Let's rock and roll.
All right, let's rock and roll. Also, at the end of each round, we're going to pause the draft, and then we will spend like 5-10 minutes discussing the players. So, if you guys want to hear us roast each other for our picks, that'll be the time for it. So let me go ahead
I do have one question. So because we're drafting for 3 different teams, are we expected to put together any type of like format for those teams, or is it just whatever goes?
That is up to you. I have a couple things in mind as to things I would like to see if I can do. But like, I'm not saying like you don't have to be like my first team's going to be drafting all wide receivers, or you don't have to.
Okay, I'm
like,
just saying you're fine. You're fine if like one team has two quarterbacks.
Yeah,
or...
no, that's totally
okay.
fine.
Okay.
We'll just pretend that team has a terrible quarterback roster.
Okay.
So.
Quick question.
Yes, Andrew.
Which one of you is coming in second?
That'll probably be me. I'm very good at coming in second in leagues, especially the Kings Classic. I've been second place the last 2 years.
Okay,
Jared's got a knack for a second recently, but he's on the mend up.
Not in the BTR Dynasty League, I don't.
No.
So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. Brandon, we're going to put you on the clock here, sir. Your 2 minutes has started. Go ahead, Brandon. Who are you picking?
So, for the sanctity of all that is CFF, we have to keep the dynasty going. We're talking CFF Dynasty. Who is the top of the game right now? And that's Mr. Caleb Williams. Who is his predecessor? That would be one Mr. Malachi Nelson. We saw that Mr. Dylan Raiola, which was a guy that was highly touted to possibly go USC. He is now going to be a Bulldog. So congrats to Mr. Katz and Mr. Palmgren there. You guys got a good quarterback coming in. CFF relevant? I don't know, but we shall see, right? But Malachi Nelson has no competition. He's already in there for the spring. He has a best friend that he's played with since, I don't know, like age 5. So he has a connection there. So all that to say, under Lincoln Riley, that we're going to take Mr. Malachi Nelson, quarterback out of USC, as the first pick.
All righty. I guess I'll go ahead with my pick here. We got a strong year of quarterbacks here, and man, it is so tough to pass on them, but I feel like that running back dries up so quickly this year. And one running back really is just in a clear tier of his own in terms of the opportunity that he can get, the frame that he has, and he's in a great system that has produced us one of our favorite running backs over the last couple of years, Mr. Bijan Robinson. I'm going to go with Mr. Cedric Baxter out of Texas. Obviously, Jonathan Brooks and Jadon Blue are obvious concerns. It may take him a while to emerge as the year goes on, but he really does have that potential to emerge as the RB1 for the Sarkisian offense in year 1. And that to me is worth it, especially since if I am on a running back needy team, I'm not going to get a ton of great guys later. So let's go ahead and take the best running back off the board here. Nate, you're up, man.
Awesome. I'm actually happy both you guys took those guys because that means my number 1 overall player is actually still on the board. So I'm going to go ahead and take him. And that would be the guy that I guess is going to start week 1 for a very fantasy relevant system with Chip Kelly. So I think we're
be a homer. Be a homer.
No, I'm not going to be a homer. I'm taking Dante Moore. I'm taking the guy that I think I've watched tape on a number of guys, not everybody, but a number of them. And Dante Moore, I think, is the best quarterback in this entire class. I think he's better than Malachi Nelson. I think he's the best. I think he's the most talented quarterback. And I think that's shown in what we saw and heard from the spring practices and how he's already competing for first team reps. So, and he's got, I'm sure, a very massive, lucrative NIL deal that is going to also put a little pressure on Chip Kelly to go ahead and do that. So I'm a big fan of getting guys that are going to potentially start pretty soon. So I'm going to go ahead and take Dante Moore.
All right.
Rest in peace, Colin Schley.
Andrew, you're
What's
up,
that?
Said rest in peace, Colin Schley.
So I unloaded, I think, one of my Joe Miltons that I have in Dynasty to you, Jared. And
yes, you did.
I think that I without any real practical cause for it, I guess I'm growing a little more pessimistic about him as we get closer to the season. I don't know if
I am too.
I don't know if it holds up all year, man.
It
was cool. It was fun. It was exciting seeing him in the Orange Bowl. But I want Nico in the sweatpants. I want that swag. I want him in that system. I want it happening on my dynasty team. And I think it's gonna be awesome. And it could start year 1. But that kind of talent and in that kind of system is the kind of thing that I'm cool waiting for a year if I have to.
All right. Andrew taking Nico Iamaleava there. Brandon, you are back up with your second team. Where are you going with this one?
Very nice pronunciation, Jared. I have no idea if it was
Jared,
right.
fantastic job on the last name, sir. That was great. That was fantastic. All right. So been thinking the past couple of weeks. So there's a clear number one wide receiver on the recruiting board. But after talking to a couple of guests and stuff like that, I have someone in mind that I like, and I just can't wrap my head around it. But it's just one of those things where I have to have him just because I know what he's capable of in that system. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Mr. Jonte Cook from Texas as the wide receiver, the new heir apparent. I wonder if I can. Oh, wait, I have to change the team.
Good call. I got to change my team as well.
Let me look that up. This is going to be great for editing. Sorry, buddy.
No, it's all good.
Do you guys
it's up in the top left corner, Brandon.
I got it, man.
Okay, cool.
Do you guys see a path to him getting on the field year one?
I think he could take over the slot.
Yeah,
he's got a pretty versatile skill set from what I could tell.
I think we've seen enough of Jordan Whittington to know exactly what Jordan Whittington is, and it's just fine, but nothing more.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
Cook is special.
It's my time. Let me talk about the guy I'm going to take. Nate should have gone homer, man, because I'm going to take your quarterback here. I'm going to take Mr. Jackson Arnold, quarterback out of Oklahoma here. Top heavy quarterback class here, just keeps going with Jackson Arnold at Oklahoma, number 8 overall player, number 4 quarterback according to 247. Dylan Gabriel, this is likely his last year, and it's already pretty clear that Arnold is the next guy up. I just keep kind of getting flashbacks to Matt Corral at the helm of Jeff Levy's offense back at Ole Miss, and that was a ton of fun for us back at Ole Miss. Back then, Corral had 3,349 yards, 20 touchdowns, as well as 614 yards and 11 touchdowns on the ground. I don't know if Arnold's really going to be able to put up that kind of rushing production. Maybe Levy kind of teaches him a bit more to do it. I like the potential of it moving forward here. And quite frankly, again, Dylan Gabriel, I think he's a really good quarterback. I think he's good for Oklahoma this year and everything. I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that if Arnold continues to perform as well as he has, that if Gabriel gets banged up and everything, he could take over and just not look back. So I'm going to go ahead and take Mr. Jackson Arnold as the last of the elite quarterbacks in this freshman class. So Nate, you're up, sir. Where are you going with this one?
Okay, well, one sooner off the board. That's nice. Glad to see him go so early. You added this particular person as part of the supplemental options that we have here. If you are in a dynasty draft with me over the last year, he's not an option as far as being a supplemental pick for you, because I will make sure that he's owned. And that's going to be Malik Hornsby, transfer from Arkansas to Texas State.
Hey. So I should probably mention real quick, sorry, Andrew, not to cut into your time here and everything, but how we determined the supplemental players was 2 different criteria. One, they had to be outside the top 500 of players in terms of rostership at the end of 2022. And then the other part of it was I went through each of my dynasty leagues, and they had to be available in at least one of them. So that we're not talking about a bunch of guys that are probably relatively owned. Because technically guys like Jadon Blue, Jamarian Miller, these are all guys outside the top 500 in rostership in CFF, but they're already rostered in CFF Dynasty leagues. We all knew that. So I went for more guys that were a little bit further out and available in my leagues. Andrew, sorry, I took half your time there. Who are you going with?
You're fine, dude. We'll keep this short and sweet. We'll take for team 2, Andrew Picat's team 2. We'll go with Zachariah Branch. Get on the field early. It feels like the turnover within USC at the wide receiver position with portaling and stuff like that, things will be in flux year to year. And while maybe the ceiling just might not be there, just from pure alpha perspective, the way that Lincoln Riley utilizes receivers, I'm cool betting on him to, at minimum, give me a nice floor across 3 seasons. And it from just hearing people that know things about freshmen and smart people I respect talk about him, he sounds pretty awesome. So let's do it.
All right, Brandon, you got 1 minute, 17 seconds to make your pick. Who are you going with, man?
So I was actually going to go with Branch. He's an absolute star, and I think he's going to be a guy to look for sure. But now that we got that guy out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and take the next piece of the pie that I like. That's actually going to be out of from Ohio State. I'm going to take Mr. Brandon Ennis, the freshman coming in. The only reason he hasn't been there in spring, I found out from Matt Bruning, is that his American Heritage football team didn't allow him to. He had to graduate the normal way, so he's coming on summer, and they're saying a lot of great things about him. So I'm going to go ahead and take Mr. Ennis over Mr. Carnell Tate, as I see a faster track for Ennis to actually start over Tate overall.
All righty. I think I am going to follow relatively suit here. I'm actually going to go against my big board here because I want to see. I'm starting to get curious as to where guys might go and everything here. But I'll follow your lead, Brandon. I'm going to take the other Ohio State wide receiver here. I'm going to take Mr. Carnell Tate. Had a great spring game, very impressive spring camp, fastest player to ever lose the black stripe out of Ohio State. And if you don't know what that means, they have a tradition over there where you're not officially a Buckeye until you lose the black stripe, kind of prove it in practice. He's already lost his. Great job from him there. Again, but it also comes down to, and this is something I like to do with my freshmen and everything, Ohio State is just such a proven system for wide receivers. With Ryan Day through Urban Meyer and everything like that, they have just been producing guys left and right with it. And Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis, those two really look like that they are going to be that duo for Ohio State kind of moving forward. Third guy as well, we'll get to him later, I would assume. But this class already seems better than the one they brought in last year. Last year seemed like kind of no offense to the guys there, but a bunch of duds, guys like Caleb Burton, guys like Caleb Brown. I would say Kojo Antwi and Keon Grays, neither one of those guys are going to be, your Marvin Harrison Jr.'s, JSNs or anything like that. This next crop seems like the much better bet. So I'm going to take advantage of that and go ahead and grab me Carnell Tate here. Nate, you're up, man.
Do you guys think the losing the black stripe thing is really weird?
It's an Urban Meyer thing.
I think it's weird. I think it's real weird. You're already playing spring ball for the team, and yet you're not on the team. You have to lose your. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. It's kind of creepy.
Be a Buckeye.
I think it's kind of fine. If I'm being real, whatever.
Buckeye, man. Buckeyes are weird.
Poisonous.
They are. Don't you?
Because I'm the one that did probably the least amount of preparation here. And Jared gave me a very, what I thought was interesting, sexy list of supplemental guys. And one of my big rules is if I can get 2 years guaranteed starting in a great system out of the dynasty draft pick, potential top 10 type production, I'm stoked about it. And I think that's what we have with Jaquindon Jackson. Is it Jaquindon?
Yeah, Jaquindon,
yeah. With Jaquindon Jackson there at Utah. It pains me. I've already drafted over Colin Schley with Dante Moore. Now I'm about to draft over Jalen Glover with Jaquindon Jackson. But that's what we have, man. It's a great system. And this is a guy that I don't think is going to go pro after this year. So we're potentially looking at 2 years in the system with him. So I really like that option right there.
Yeah, that was when I was he was ahead of Tate on my big board, but I was curious to see where some of the supplemental guys went. So
I was curious if he's going to show up as a QB or running back. So he actually popped up as a running back. So that's cool.
There you go. Katz, your last pick of the first round, man. Where are you going with this?
Is it already? I mean, that one quick. Oh man, I'm between two guys.
Tell me both of them. I'll tell you which one's worse. So you can pick that one.
No, don't do that.
It's I never spelled this guy's name right, and I've drafted him enough times where you'd think I would get it right by now. But am I? Oh, I'm on the wrong team. Okay, this is going really smoothly. So it's 2 years. I think we can get 3 years from Mr. Shadur Sanders, right? Because he started COVID year, and that was year one.
2 years of eligibility left.
Is it 2? Do you think it's a fake 2? Because he didn't play 3 years at Jackson State.
No, he's played 2 years at Jackson State. All right, let me pause it. All right, this is a great point to pause. He played 2 years at Jackson State. He did not redshirt. So unless he medically redshirts, he's not going to He's not going to get that 5th year of eligibility. So he's
Was
only got
COVID
2 years left.
2021 or 2020?
2020.
Okay.
So he came in the year after COVID.
All right. I guess that shows kind of where my head's at. All right. 2 years isn't bad though. And
Yeah,
but that kills my whole lead, but it's fine. 2 years, Sean Lewis system. Hopefully Dion kind of pulls the reins back and says, "Hey man, don't do my kid dirty like you did Colin Schley and run him into the ground, get him injured every week."
Andrew, we can no longer hear you for some reason. Anyway, while Andrew's fixing his mic and everything, Nate and Brandon, we can kind of talk about what we thought overall in this round. We have 3 supplemental picks. Andrew, is that you back? Are you back? Nope, not yet. Anyway, we got 3 supplemental picks, and we had 9 freshmen come off the board here. Does that surprise either one of you guys? Were one of you guys expecting more supplemental picks? What were you guys thinking?
No, I mean, I feel like this is generally what you tend to see. You tend to see people, people want the new shiny toy, and people want the next big thing, and they want to, be able to draft Bijan Robinson as a freshman and guys like that, Caleb Williams. So that's a huge coup if you're able to land one of those guys. So I get it if people are going after some of the 5 stars and stuff like that. I would say, maybe a player or 2 came off a little bit earlier than I was expecting, but for the most part, I don't think any of these are outrageous selections at all in my mind.
Like who, Nate? Call them out. Who came off early?
It's probably a little early for maybe Brandon Innes, just because I haven't seen, he's the only one I think out of this entire bunch. I'm looking at him just to make sure I'm not putting my foot in my mouth here. Yeah, he's the only one out of this entire group that wasn't in for spring, as far as like the true freshman. So I do get a little gun shy when I haven't seen it with Ohio State guys, and they're just, that room's just so deep. And if you've seen the recruiting class for next year, spoiler alert, they've got 2 out of the top 3 guys already committed. So it's just if he doesn't pop year 1, there's just a good chance that you could get recruited over. Having said that, I think Brandon Innes is crazy talented. He's a really good wide receiver. I just want to kind of see it if I'm going this high.
Yeah, and I don't think that was really Brandon Innes' fault. I think there's something with this high school that they don't allow people to enroll early.
Yeah, so, I'm not saying it's I mean, it's your choice if you want to show up for spring or not. And in his case, it wasn't even really a choice. But the fact of the matter is, Carnell Tate's out there catching passes and touchdowns in the spring game while he's actually really going to prom and stuff.
Gotcha. All right, hold on. I'm trying to get Andrew back in here. Andrew, can you try to speak real quick?
What's up?
All right, perfect. You sound great, man. All right, Andrew, what are you have any thoughts on the first round and everything? Anybody come off a little earlier than you expected?
Well, as you can tell from my banter, I really wanted Dante Moore for a lot of the reasons that Nate articulated. Especially, I mean, it sucks that we can't, unless we see some late summer transfer magic like with Jared Palmgren last year, we won't see our boy Colin Schley starting for an FBS program and seeing Dante Moore on the field in the 2023 season. But yeah, I found it weird how easily I've been able to get Dante Moore in best ball drafts, like pretty much just name my price and he's there for me every single time. I don't really understand it. I think it's one thing when you're jumping up to go get a freshman in the early teens, bordering on top 10 round type deal. But like when I'm getting the dude like mid 20s to late 20s rounds, it's as my QB7 or whatever. It's like I can wait and I'm cool letting this process play out for a few weeks, especially in like best ball, right? Where with the idea being I'll let my first 6 QBs figure things out until Moore gets that QB1 job for sure, runs with it and just starts to do cool shit.
Mm-hmm. My kind of thoughts here, I was a little surprised to see Malik Hornsby come off this early, mostly because, again, like, I like the upside of Malik Hornsby. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's clear upside there, but I don't know if I was quite I wasn't quite ready to take a supplemental pick in general yet, but Malik Hornsby, I think I had as like my second or third supplemental QB. So there's even guys I'd take ahead of him, mostly because, again, they did just bring in TJ Finley, so I have a little bit of pause there. I think that's kind of the main bit of it right there.
Yeah, I would like to see one of the problems I think is unfortunately TJ Finley doesn't strike me as someone who's totally incompetent. Like, he's super bland and boring, right? But like, just watching him, like, the dude can spin a football, he can complete passes, and I think that especially at the G5 level, when you're thinking about what powers a creative, high-powered offense, that creativity doesn't need to come from the skill talent on the field. It can come from the play caller, right? Just as much. And like, if that play calling from Kinney can funnel through Finley, I think that, like, if the coach staff basically decides, like, I think I could just, like, Finley can make the throws, I can just kind of make things work from a play calling perspective, you could see them going that route. I think if they're not liking what they're seeing out of Hornsby, like, and this is like, I went out of my way to go get Hornsby everywhere in Dynasty this past season, going into the 22 season, praying for this exact outcome. But I'm getting a little skittish. Why are you not, Nate? Are you totally full steam ahead? Presumably you are, right?
Sorry, my daughter is letting us know her thoughts on TJ Finley screwing up the Hornsby situation.
It's probably a smarter take than the rest of us. I could probably see that.
I think all your guys' points are definitely valid. It now makes it a situation where his leash is a lot shorter, which would concern me a little bit, because he's a guy that probably needs a little bit longer leash to screw up every once in a while in order for us to see some of those fun, fantastic plays that we could expect out of him. But on the other hand, it's like, is TJ Finley really going to be the one that scares you? Because he couldn't beat out Robbie Ashford. He couldn't beat out Max Johnson. I mean, there's a lot of really average players he couldn't beat out. Not that Malik Hornsby could potentially beat those guys out too. But I get it. It says something. The coaching staff went out and added a guy. They tried to get Castellanos. They ended up with TJ Finley, and that says something as to where they stand in that QB room.
Would have been so much nicer if they brought in Castellanos, right? Just for our purposes here.
I think it would have been a fun debate. The deal is, though, is that it's basically, it would have been, I think it would have actually worried me more if I were a Malik Hornsby owner, because he's basically the same player. And there's a chance that he could just be the same player, but slightly better. But I don't know how exactly TJ Finley fits in, but we'll find out. But yeah, it's a valid point. I could see some of the concerns.
Brandon, you've been patiently waiting over there. What are your kind of thoughts on this first round, especially with the freshmen and everything? Is this about what you expected the first round to go with some of these guys?
Yeah, like I said, we haven't really seen too much, but just talking with people in Slack or just seeing just random mock drafts, whether PJ or someone else is running it. But it's like, usually it's Nelson or Morris or your top quarterback. Then it usually is Baxter. Super surprised to see Branch drop to the 8th. That's the first I've seen him outside of the top 5 as far as just talking to people in particular. But that's great. That means if he's becoming more of a value at the end of the rounds, then you could trade back. If you got some extra picks, you could, essentially wait on him. If you're a guy that's in the 8th or 9th spot, that's almost like contender spot right there between the 8th and the 12th spot. That's usually guys that are vying for the championship each year. So if that streak continues, then that's awesome. But yeah, this is the first I've seen Hornsby in the first, but I completely understand where Nate's coming from. And like you said, TJ Finley's not a guy that not all of us are trembling our boots about. So I can see Hornsby doing it. I'm a big fan of Lincoln Perry, who's their running back. He's one of my guys this year. I just think like Texas State is just going to rock and roll this year. So I am a fan of that team this year. So I can understand the Hornsby moving up there. And then seeing Shador in the top of the first there is pretty interesting, especially over a couple of names that haven't been taken just yet. But I do like, Colorado is basically just the Western version of UNC, where there's no defense, all offense. So if you can, capitalize on that, I completely understand where Katz is coming from, taking Sanders for sure.
All right, Brandon, we'll keep it with you, man. I'm going to hit play on the draft, and let's go ahead and start the second round here, man.
All right. Well, I'm going to take a page right out of Mr. Palmgren's handbook and go systems. And I'm going to take the next installment at running back, Mr. Justice Haynes out of Alabama. Great talent, pretty much setting massive records there in the state of Georgia. I can see him with a direct path being the next up, possibly. I know this year is looking a little bit, more like just the one was McClellan that's up and running this year.
Yeah.
That's his turn to be the new Brian Robinson and get drafted by a team in like the 4th, 5th round in the NFL draft, and then he moves on. But Justice Haynes is an absolute stud. But he's more than just a running back. He can catch. He's built like an absolute unit. So people are just not going to stop him. We already seen him a little bit in the spring game. And I think that Coach Saban's going to see that talent and be like, all right, man, he's just too good. We got to give him some run. So I'm hoping he starts taking a little bit this year and eventually just takes over completely next year. So I'm going to give Mr. Justice Haynes in the top of the second.
I kind of hate you, Brandon, because I was kind of hoping that I was able to get Cedric Baxter and Justice Haynes on the same team here and be like, whoa, you can get the RB1 and RB2 for this class on the same team. That would be absolutely insane. Nate, you were talking about guys who you could get if you could get 2 solid years of a guy, that's great. What if I told you there's a guy available in a lot of dynasty leagues that you could probably get 3 in a great CFF system the last couple of years? I'm talking about Mitch Griffiths, quarterback out of Wake Forest. He's got 3 years of eligibility left. And yes, Nate, I did double check to make sure that is true, because 2020, 2021, he redshirted. And then last year was his first year where he had a full play. So he's got 3 years of eligibility left. Hartman's been fantastic last couple of years. This staff never wavered on Griffiths being that guy to replace Sam Hartman after he was gone. Sorry, y'all, I hit my mic there. And pretty much as soon as Hartman transferred, they're like, yeah, Griffiths is our guy. So he could run the offense really well. We saw it against VMI last year. Again, VMI, yes, I know, take it with a grain of salt. Regardless, he seemed very comfortable within the system when we did see him play. I fully expected him to pick up right where Hartman left off. And here in the second round of a draft like this, I will take the possibility of having 3 solid years of a CFF quarterback, because you don't even get that out of some of the freshmen that you are drafting. And not to mention all the weapons they have around him. Nate, go ahead, man.
Yeah, that's an interesting pick. You're 100% correct on his eligibility. I'm kind of torn on a couple of guys here. There's a couple of freshmen that I'm still interested in, and then there's also some pretty nice options with the supplemental stuff here. But I think that some of those guys will last. I'm going to go ahead and take a guy that I think could also, I'm going to pair with Dante Moore here in this team that I think could win the job year one, because I think that the guys in front of him are pretty average to below average. I'm not a fan of Le'Veon Moss at all. I think he was so overrated coming out of high school last year. It made no sense to me why people were so excited for him. So I'm going to take Ruben Owens here. There he is. I'm going to go ahead and take him because I think he's got to start year one in that Bobby Petrino and Jimbo Fisher offense. It's been quite lucrative for both of those coaches over the years.
All right, Andrew, where are you going, man?
I'm a sucker for a cool recruitment story, so Owens was on my radar as well. But
it was cool.
I'm gonna cool, interesting.
it was all over the place. That's for sure.
Money involved, possibly.
Who was the dude who floated the balloon into outer space to do his commitment? He was at UCF and then went to Maryland and A&M, and then I forget his name.
No idea.
Oh, no.
He had a cool name.
I'm gonna have to look this up later.
It was I think it was something Richardson, but it doesn't matter.
That's why I love having Katz on the podcast, because he will just throw out the best college football stories out there that nobody's ever heard of, but then you look it up and they're all true.
I think Kay wasted a bunch of money on a bunch of dynasty capital on, but I got pair Nico with Squirrel and take Squirrel White.
Was Squirrel on the list of guys?
Hey now.
Hold on. No, he was not, because again he is absolutely grabbed in all of my leagues. So try again, Katz. Try again.
Snuck that one by, yeah.
There's more receivers on that team.
He's like, man, I'm gonna tell this cool balloon story, and then I'm gonna sneak in Squirrel White.
I had to give it a shot.
Hey, fun story though. Try to pair those two together.
How much time do I got on the clock? I got plenty of time. All right, sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, outside of the whole team building concept, and I find a lot of my dynasty rosters looking this way, where it's so counter to how I build redraft, where I usually just wait on quarterback forever. But I look at my dynasty roster and they're all just clogged up with cool quarterbacks that I love. I don't know if that says less or more about how I value these players, that I always seem to be able to get them in dynasty or not. But I mean, I could draft that way here and just like so many other people, I'm a sucker for so many of the quarterbacks in this class for one reason or another, whether it's fantasy.
Did we lose Andrew there? He's frozen. He's got the frozen face.
Man, the anticipation's killing me. This quarterback must
Who's it
be.
going to be?
I was say I have a feeling I know who it is, but
please don't. For my team building, I need him not to take who I think he's going to take.
Nah. Sorry, Brandon. I think he's coming off the board here. As soon as we get Katz back here, I wonder if Katz.
All right, let's all guess who he's talking about. I'm guessing he's talking about a particular Texas quarterback.
I am.
Yeah.
Oh, what the heck? He chose Curley.
Well, okay.
Wow, we were all the way off. I thought he was going quarterback.
Was Jordan Curley on the list?
Jordan Curley was on the list. He is
available.
Oh, he's available
cool.
in 2 of my dynasty leagues. I was like, what the heck? Feels like he should have been grabbed already.
Oh, man.
Anyway, Brandon, back to you, man.
What a curveball. Well, fantastic. Well, I'm going to pair up Jonte Cook with his quarterback of the future, one Mr. Arch Manning. And because whether he's going to stay at Texas or he goes somewhere else, he's going to wind up starting because he's got that Manning money and he's got them sweet training camps. So Arch Manning is my pick at 2-5.
Andrew, I see you up there, Andrew. The moment you you start talking again and everything, I'll pin you down here. All right, I'm on the board now. My question is, do I go supplemental again or do I go freshman? Because I got 2 supplemental picks I really like and 2 freshmen that I kind of like here.
Don't screw up my boy Jackson.
I know.
He needs somebody to make.
You know what? I'm gonna just because it's an interesting topic of conversation. I'm gonna go with probably my favorite 1-year rental of the supplemental picks. Just kind of get talking about this and everything like that. To me, this guy, it's hard to see how he misses this year. And you're going to want to grab a guy like this, especially if you're kind of in this middle range. You're looking to take that next step to get yourself a contender status. I'm going to go with Caleb Hood, wide receiver out of Georgia Southern. Most people know his partner in crime, Derwin Burgess, but many forget that Hood actually outproduced him by 30 catches and 200 yards last year. Main problem really was the touchdown inequality. Hood had 3, Burgess had 7. We saw in the spring game, Davis Brin looks very comfortable with Hood and Burgess as main 2 options, and Hood, quite frankly, has just been the healthier of the 2 the last couple of years. So I think it's a no-brainer to grab him this early, especially if you're in a win-now mode. This guy's available in a ton of your leagues. Go ahead and grab him. Really, the only downside for him is the fact that this will be his last year of eligibility. So let's just go ahead and grab Caleb Hood there. Nate, you're on the clock, sir.
That surprises me. That really does surprise me. I thought there was a particular JUCO wide receiver that you have fallen in love with.
Let's not speak of him right now. Let's not speak of him.
That has more than 1 year. That surprises me. You would not have taken ahead of Caleb Hood. So
I do think Hood's is a safer bet than the other receiver you're talking about.
Okay. I think Jackson Arnold deserves better. I'm going to be honest with you, but
dang.
Let's see here. Okay, I'm trying not to say that I'm pairing this guy with Malik Hornsby, but I can't stop looking at Malik Hornsby being on this team and thinking what I would pair with this particular player. But let's go ahead and go. Man, I'm trying to really decide if I want to take one of those. One of the freshmen. I was thinking about taking Arch Manning here, to be honest with you. So let's go ahead and go. I'm going to go another supplemental. This is just going to be like my supplemental team, I think is what this is going to be. I'm going to pair Malik Hornsby with Syracuse running back LaQuint Allen.
If it makes you feel better, Nate, I was between Allen and Hood. So I think you had the better of the 2 possibly.
I think you could probably make a case. for one of the freshmen over him, or just there are some nice freshman wide receivers and stuff like that in this class that may have been a better play here, but this roster is just kind of building as a win now type team. I'm kind of throwing the dice out there and saying Hornsby Allen, let's go.
All right, Katz, you are back on the clock, sir. Where are you going with this pick?
Y'all can hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep. All right, sweet. So it would not surprise me if the roster construction of Western Kentucky changes leading up to the start of the season, especially in the wide receiver room, which seems a little weaker than we are accustomed to there. And they haven't been shy in the transfer portal. But where things stand right now, and with that sweet tight end eligibility, I got to go get Dalvin Smith.
You went and got your boy.
I think that we saw a preview of how they can and hopefully will look to use him in the bowl game last year, and not just go routes like what we saw with David Davis, and to a little bit of a lesser extent, I forget what his first name was, Jalen Hall, but I think he's going to command targets at multiple levels of the field, and he's going to show out and have a great year alongside Corley.
Do you think he plays the boundary?
Presumably, right? I mean,
but he didn't last year in the bowl game. In the bowl game, he played slot, and Matheson surprisingly played on the boundary, which was kind of weird to me, because I'm like, he's got to go outside, right? I mean, he's got to, just because of his size and their lack of boundary receivers.
The slot would explain the targets, right? Like, slot is the position in that system that what were you gonna say though? I
was gonna say maybe was the position. I don't know. With Arbuckle leaving, but I was just gonna say it's amazing that he's got tight end eligibility. I know, because every best ball I'm in and Dynasty, that seems to have been taken away. So that's awesome. If you can get it, man, that's great value right there.
All right, Brandon, who are you going with, man?
All right. Well, one, I know Katz likes to do that wide receiver tight end combo. He hit me with a certain Rice player a couple years ago that I absolutely adored. Smashed me for like 50 something points. And he thought I was going to tell on him, and I was all for it, because I was like, you got to win the game. Dynasty is dynasty, my friends. So that was one of my favorite parts of the year, and I learned a lot that year. So they used to say, excellent pick, Mr. Katz. But I'm going to go back to the Alabama drawing board. We already talked about him real quick. And I'm going to take Mr. Malik Benson, wide receiver there. I know a lot of people are saying that he may not be in the starting lineup, but I don't see why not, especially with the JUCO talent and stuff like that. I know we don't see a lot of JUCO anymore, but really he's a great talent. It was just the grades that he needed to get up. Finally, he's got the grades to get back to Alabama. He's got the pedigree. I'm a little concerned about the quarterback stuff still, but I feel like he can be a veteran that whichever quarterback starts, that they'll have a veteran presence that they can throw to. So I like Malik Benson here, especially in the second round. That's a good steal, I think.
Yeah, that's just assuming that we're getting the Alabama receivers of the past. And I do like Benson a lot as a talent, but I think that could definitely blow up in some people's face this year. Again, I'm going outside of my big board just a little bit, going down a little bit. There's 3 really good freshman wide receivers still on the board here. And really, any one of them I would be happy with here. But I cannot get over the idea of getting not 1, but 2 Ohio State freshman wide receivers onto the same team here. Both of these guys looked really, really good in the spring. And I really think that between Ennis, Tate, and the guy I'm about to draft right here, Ohio State has its next trio of wide receivers they're going to rely on over the next couple of years. And frankly, this last guy, Noah Rogers, to me is the value right now. I really think like he's a higher rated wide receiver than Tate was on the recruiting services. Now, again, obviously Tate had a really good spring, so he's probably jumped up a little bit since then. But even still, a whole round difference between these two guys and everything. Noah Rogers is a very talented wide receiver, and he showed out in the spring game as well. So I'm going to go ahead and take him and have 2 Ohio State wide receivers of the future on the same team here. That feels great to me.
Yeah, and Noah Rogers is also a guy there. He could, if he gets over recruited, like we've seen sometimes, where like we're looking at Keon Gray's. Me and Matt were talking, is like he might never see the field. He might have to transfer out. Like Rodgers, with especially like Jeremiah Smith and those guys next year, Rodgers got plenty of talent, and so he could easily go back. Like NC State was highly looking at him. The Tar Heels were looking at him. He's one of these higher end North Carolina recruits, so he could be on the move. And if he finds the right spot, if he has to transfer, he would be a good one to get a hold of. So that's really good value, especially here at the second.
All right, Nate, where are you going with this one, man?
I'm going to keep the freshman and wide receiver run going for that matter. I'm going to go ahead and take another freshman wide receiver, one that showed out really well in the spring game, and that's Jaden Greathouse over at Notre Dame.
Very nice.
I do think that there are some concerns about his overall athleticism, but we've got a quarterback there that's shown he can really lock in on a wide receiver and pepper them with targets. And I'll be honest with you, I mean, that wide receiver room's pretty bleak year one, let alone for the future. So I do think that he can carve out a role there in year one and be a big time playmaker for them over the next few years.
All righty, go ahead and put him in there. Katz, your last pick of the second round, man.
Now feels like the proper time where I can disguise homerism for value and go with Roderick Robinson. I am of the camp that believes that the usage that we've seen amongst Georgia running backs in recent years is a result of just talent and skill set more so than what the team wants to do. If we can get a running back that shows that they should and can command all three downs across and the majority of reps, let's do it. Maybe it's Robinson.
Which Robinson do you like better?
Oh man. Well, I've seen Branson cut, and it's not the prettiest, but he's got a soft spot in my heart. That dude's awesome. I mean, I've been drafting him a little bit, but I don't know if he's ever going to be that guy. So let's move on to the next guy. Maybe it's him.
one year and just a couple games. We're ready. Let's move on.
This has got the same last name, so you can just keep the jerseys going.
I say Robinson squared going on right now.
It's not Kendall Milton though, is it, Jared?
No, I am still a believer in Kendall Milton, dude. I just want that man to stay healthy, dude.
You say you are, but you never draft him. You say you are, but I never.
Well, again, I think it's gonna be a split. I still think it's gonna be a split backfield this year to the point where he might not. He's not gonna be fantasy relevant, but at the same time, like I'm a believer in him being the RB1 this year. I think he'll be really good.
Deep down, I know that's not true.
Right at the end of the second round. I'll let y'all think for a second here and everything. Just so it's a little bit more organized, I think I'll just ask each of you favorite pick that's not yours and worst pick of the round. So I'll give you guys a minute to think about it while I kind of go through the round as well.
I'll just start off. Even though I know he's only got 1 year left, I didn't realize Jordan Curley was in our draft pool.
I thought you had two.
And
did I invent him like I did Squirrel?
No, Jared said. Well, you cut out
he's
there
on the
for a
list.
second. He said he was good. I just overlooked him. That was due to my lack of preparation. But I like Jordan Curley quite a bit. So if I'm gonna draft where I want to win now, which is pretty much every draft I'm in, I like that pick quite a bit.
Thank you.
I'm going to have to say, and again, this is going to be the anti-homerism coming in here. I think my least favorite pick of the round is Roderick Robinson. I love the talent. If this is a C2C draft, Andrew, I'd be all over it. I'd be like, that's an incredible pick because I think Roderick Robinson is going to develop into an NFL running back one day. I just think the days of Georgia having, the Chubbs, the Michelles, the Todd Gurleys of the past are relatively over. Again, they just are too stacked at the position. They continue to recruit well at the position every single year. They're going to want to split it between a whole bunch of guys. And even if they are a guy that will monopolize the backfield, most of the time you're going to have to wait 1 to 2 years to even see that. And by that point, they could easily be over-recruited. It's kind of the same problem you're seeing with Alabama, although I would say Justice Haynes is probably a better running back than I would say anybody on Georgia's roster. And that's me saying something because Georgia's got a lot of talented running backs back there. So I think that's probably my least favorite pick of the round.
Or if you're Kendall Milton, you have to wait 4 years.
A favorite pick of the round? I'm not gonna entertain that, Nate.
I'm gonna comment on that.
I would say Justice Haynes. I'll just keep the theme going. Again, I do like Justice Haynes a lot. I do think he is going to be a factor in the Bama backfield sooner rather than later. I think he can possibly be the number 2 running back by year's end. And if Chase McClellan's gone after that point, boom, you got a guy in year 2. And he feels like a first round guy that you got there in the second round, Brandon. So good on you there.
Thank you, good sir. Took a page out of your playbook. My favorite is LaQuint Allen. I actually was between him and Benson. I was going to take whoever was going to fall. So love that pick, Nate. That's a good pickup, man. My least favorite, sorry, Katz, but I don't trust Georgia in the running backfield anytime soon. I would have to wait until I see a true workhorse. And you guys know your new offensive coordinator. I think he's a clone of Monken. So if he's going to stay the same, right? Like, do we really trust that? So as much as, Roger Robertson compares to Bo Jackson, which I freaking love, that's awesome. But for the NFL level, I'll be glad to pick him up. But for CFF, I'm probably just going to pass this time around.
Also, Nate, you never gave us the pick that you didn't like the most. You gave us only positivity. I need you to give me some negativity here.
Oh, I thought you picked up on that whenever I said that I felt like you did Jackson Arnold dirty whenever you
okay, gotcha. I just wanted to hear it again. I like pain and
if
being
you want
told
me to
I'm
keep
terrible.
on beating up your I'll keep on beating this selection here. I don't like Caleb Hood there. Sorry.
That's all good. All right, Andrew, your favorite and least favorite pick of the round.
It's a shame that we're all so sharp because I would love to see Arch go a little earlier so we could collectively pile on the person who took him, but this feels properly valued.
He was coming up for me as well. So
before I digress into actually giving you my opinion, maybe this guy goes in round 3, but like I was doing the real just not real research and just Googling ESPN 300 thing, and which has to be outdated, right? But at the same time, like I see Justice Haynes and some other dude whose name I've never heard mentioned by anyone in our circle or like our fantasy space. Richard Young rated like near the same. What's the deal with that dude? Is he on campus? Not on campus? Like is he in the same? Is he like a threat to Haynes?
He's not an early enrollee.
Yeah, he's a summer guy, great heart, good build. He would do great in another program, but unfortunately Justice Haynes came in and just swept him. I don't know if he's going to see the field anytime soon, man.
Dude, Brandon, you are like the only guy I've ever heard like talk about how nice kids are and how like on a personal level.
I give the offer sheet. I was like, hey, look at this pretty offer sheet,
We've talked about this in the Slack. I've actually watched quite a bit of Richard Young, and I watched Justice Haynes, and I came away saying I think Richard Young's a more dynamic athlete. I think he is. I think he's more explosive. The C2C guys are really down on Richard Young. I don't understand why. I think he's actually really good. He reminds me more of Jahmyr Gibbs, and Haynes is more of kind of like the between the tackles kind of grinder type guy. I don't think Haynes is overly dynamic as far as an athlete, but Nick Saban loves him some Justice Haynes, and I think that's gonna play a factor. But I think I don't hate a Richard Young pick in a dynasty draft because whether he carves out a role there at Alabama or he goes somewhere else, I think he's a pretty good player.
I don't really have too much to add and everything. Again, based on what I've heard from some other people, again, I haven't really done a super deep dive on Young and everything, but I know some people kind of compared him more to like the kind of Roydell Williams kind of role for Bama.
Austin's wrong. That's terrible. He's way better than Roydell Williams. Roydell Williams is a bum.
He kind of feels it.
And no, Roydell Williams is not a dynamic athlete. No, he's no. You would never say you never watch Roydell Williams and watch Jahmyr Gibbs and go like, yeah, no, I think Roydell Williams is great. No, he's more athletic than Roydell Williams.
Anyway, you're shooting the messenger here, me. I'm just saying what other people have been saying. Please, Nate, please. I let you back on for one show, and this is how you treat me.
He had to do the judgment.
I did.
Austin doesn't listen. That won't be a problem.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But no, Young, I think is one of those kind of fun like zag deals. Like again, like think last year you had Nicholas Singleton going as a 101 pick in a lot of dynasty drafts, and Katron Allen would be a guy that would fall until like the 5th, 6th, maybe even later than that in a lot of dynasty drafts. And people were like, "Hey, I'll take the discount on the other guy." Like again, there's both these guys are very talented, but one of them's coming at a multiple round discount. Noah Rogers, in my opinion, is kind of another one. I took him as in the second round here. That's because I just really believe in Noah Rogers. I've seen some C2C supplemental drafts, and again, not the same thing as CFF Dynasty, but even still, he goes like 4 or 5 rounds later than the guys like Ennis and Tate. And I'm like, there's a lot of fun little zag guys you can grab right there. I do think Richard Young could be one of those guys this year. Again, we'll have to see. Again, he isn't on campus yet, and so that's probably why Nate's scared of him, because he hasn't seen it yet. We don't know what he looks like in that backfield. Maybe he comes in the fall and he just blows away everybody else. We'll definitely see. Brandon, are you ready to get us start with the third and final round of the show here?
I'm ready. Let's rock and roll.
All righty, let's get you going. Let's resume the draft and get us started. Brandon, who are you going with?
All right. Well, I have Malachi Nelson. I think it's time to pick up his best friend. I'm surprised he's lasted this long, but it's Mr. Micaiah Lemon, who is going to USC as well. And it makes my first team, quarterback, running back, wide receiver. So if we're looking at, how the team flows, it's actually a really good pickup, but it's also a good demonstration as far as like having supplemental guys in the draft as well. Also brings some of these freshmen down further than what I thought. Honestly, I thought Lemon would be late first, maybe early second, but the fact that he's here at the 301, that's fantastic. And so I'm going to pair Mr. Lemon with Mr. Nelson and hope for that 1-2 combo in the future.
I don't know if any of you guys have seen Bullet Train, but if Micaiah Lemon and Zachariah Branch become a dynamic duo, can I have y'all's permission to nickname Zachariah Branch Tangerine? Have any of y'all seen Bullet Train? If you haven't, it's a fantastic movie and you should. It's on Netflix. Go watch it. It's literally one of the best spy movies I've seen in such a long time.
Was that the one with Brad Pitt?
Yeah, it's the one with Brad Pitt. And it's basically like all these assassins are all on the same train and they keep tripping over each other. They keep
I think I tried for like 10 minutes and then I couldn't do it and gave up.
Bro, it's a great movie. You need to keep watching it. Anyway, I'm on the clock. I have 50 seconds left. I'm going to take, I think this is the last 5-star wide receiver on the board. Frankly, he's been lasting here too long. Go ahead and give me Jerrion Dickey, wide receiver out of Oregon. I tend to avoid guys that didn't come in during the spring. But regardless, again, we're in the third round of a supplemental draft here. Let me go ahead and take a shot on a guy who's one of the most talented receivers in this class, number 3 wide receiver overall. Great offensive system for him to get into with Will Stein as offensive coordinator. Again, I would have liked him better before Oregon added like Trayshawn Holden, Tez Johnson, Gary Bryant, all the others at receiver. Just too many bodies there right now. We'll see how things clear up after this year. But regardless, I think he'll be an impact player by year 2, especially pair him with Austin Novosad, the quarterback that's also coming in with him. I think that could be a really fun dynamic duo there for a couple of years. Let me go ahead and get Dickey there. Nate, you're on the clock, sir.
Okay. I really don't know what direction I'm going with this one. So I'm gonna mess around and just do something
crazy.
Yeah, well, it's not really crazy. Just kind of to I don't know. Maybe no. I'm gonna save him for my next pick. Nah, screw it. I'm gonna go ahead and do it.
Dude, no collusion amongst your teams, Nate.
No collusion. Also, Nate, this is a CFF Dynasty supplemental draft. You have no clue when any of these players are coming off the board.
No, I know. I just
there is no reaching.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take. Let me make sure I got the right. This is my Nate Marchese 1, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Yes. Make sure I'm on the right one here. I'm going to go ahead and take DT Sheffield from Washington State.
Alrighty.
Slot receiver, Arbuckle system. Your boy, a little bit of that was just to take him so that you couldn't take him in a draft. But I'm going to go ahead and take him here. Hype train overload for DT Sheffield. And I'm just going to, I guess, go ahead and let that train keep on chugging down the tracks.
Nate, would it surprise you if I told you that he was the 5th player in my queue right now?
No, I feel like I'm going to try to bully you into the point where you're not going to take him anymore. So maybe I can get to the point where he's just going to be totally off the board if I keep talking trash about him in Slack. So
sounds good. Andrew, you're back up, man. What are you doing here?
I think we're going to double down on quarterback. I told you I was a sucker for a cool recruiting story. Is he in the system? All right, sweet. I want Austin Mack. That dude who reclassified from 24 to 23.
That is a fun pick.
Yeah, and that, like, dude, I assume that QB room beyond Penix isn't in great shape with the lefty kid Heward deciding he's going to go play for his old coach right at Cal Poly or whatever.
Yeah,
so
Heward.
he's off. Yeah, so he's off the board, and all the other maybe I don't know if Dylan Morris is still there, but like
he is. I don't know if he has eligibility after this year, but he is still there.
He does.
What
Dylan Morris
like.
could be there next year, but if Dylan Morris scares you, then
no,
you got other problems in this pick. Yeah,
he's the perfect. I forget what the term is, but perfect guy to just kind of keep transfers out, right? And like, all right, and then Mac just steps in and does his thing in the board system.
No, I think that's a very fun pick. Brandon, you are up, sir. What do you got?
I'm going to end it with a Tennessee wide receiver that you can take, and I'm going to take Mr. Nathan Leacock. Great in the spring game. Him and Nico will make a nice pairing together starting next year. Maybe we might even see Leacock this year if there's some injuries. He definitely showed out. So a lot of promise, tall wide receiver, great talent, played right out of Raleigh, so I got to see him. So great stock there. I'm going to take Mr. Leacock.
Talk about his personality.
Yeah, is he a good kid, Brandon?
To talk to him. I'd talk to him about a tight end, but that would be about it.
I'm just messing with you, dude.
Man, I got two quarterbacks here I'm looking at. Go ahead, Nate.
Sorry to interrupt. I was just gonna say, if you guys watch Nathan Leacock's tape, it's wild. If you watch it, I watched like 5 to 10 minutes. It's like I give up. I can't tell if this guy's like the greatest wide receiver ever, or if he's just playing like a peewee team, because it's literally him just running go routes and he's open by like 30 yards every time. And I'm like, I'm getting nothing from this film. It's hilarious.
Alrighty.
Perfect fit for the system.
Right? That's exactly. I know.
It's system, baby.
It is so good.
I'm going to take this team right here, and I am going to double down on this mid-tier team, wanting to take that next step. We're going to get another win now guy here to pair with his wide receiver. I'm going to go ahead and take Mr. Davis Brin here at quarterback. Again, last year, Vantrease, 600 passing attempts, 27 touchdowns, got a little bit of production there on the ground. That insane volume is everything you want in a passing quarterback in a CFF, and you could possibly even get it for 2 years here at Georgia Southern with Davis Brin. Brin's sanity is back, Mr. Katz.
He has 2 years?
I believe he has 2 years, based on what I can tell.
Davis has
That's what we like to see.
Is 1 year? Okay, I must have miscounted earlier then. Regardless, win now. Go ahead and take Davis Brin. We're going up another level here. Give me Davis Brin to pair with Caleb Hood here. And let's just pretend that Derwin Burgess is already on this dynasty team. Got the whole Georgia Southern offense. Nate, you're back on the clock, sir. Where are you going with this one?
Okay, I'm just double checking something. Yeah, okay, just making sure. This is my I always have to double check eligibility here, because I'm like, man, I feel like this guy's been around for like 4 years, but this is my supplemental crew here. So I'm going to go ahead and get my last supplemental that I like here. I could go Malik Sherrod at Fresno State, who I think has a chance to take over that role, but I'm going to go on a different route and try to find Tajay Spears' replacement with Ashad, Shady, Clayton. I think he's got like 4 names now. But believe it or not, he still has 3 years of eligibility. And I think there's a legit chance that we could get 2 years of him in that system, which could be kind of fun. So I'm going to go ahead and keep the train rolling on these guys with the supplemental team I got here with Hornsby, LeQuint Allen, and now Clayton.
Also, real quick, I realized my mistake earlier. I was looking at his Davis Brin's past years, and I thought his 2018 season said 2019. I didn't realize that 2019 was also in there. So yeah, you're right. 1 year of eligibility left.
Yeah, he's a 6-year guy. Yeah.
All right, Katz, who are you going with here, man?
I've drafted a good amount of Sherrod at this point, and it wasn't until the other day that I actually looked at how much he weighs, and that kind of scared me a little bit. Like the dude's like 175, so that gives me like a little bit of pause. But like at the same time, like that shit doesn't matter as much in college as it does in the NFL. So who's to say? So unlike my other teams, this team could actually use a quarterback. So let's shoot for the moon. Pray he can just do something with his arm and take Bird Emanuel.
Damn you! I really wanted to take him with my last pick.
Nice. I like that pick. That was sweet. Nicely done.
Again,
Your last two picks could be incredible or just the worst ever between Austin Mack and Bert Emanuel.
Yeah.
but here's the
Either
thing
way,
with Bert Emanuel,
feast or
Nate.
famine.
Again, you're talking about you want 2 years out of a guy. Bert Emanuel, you could get 4 because he didn't burn his red shirt last year. He only played in 4 games. So you get 4 years of a dual threat Mac quarterback there. That could be a ton of fun right there.
He's not going pro, so
He is not.
will get for you.
It's
not a
4
quarterback.
years. So, all right, Brandon, you're back on the clock, man. What's your last pick here?
All right. So we're going to keep feeding into the narrative. You always look for roommates. You look for best friends. You look for, whatever that you can find, whatever nepotism that's out there. We'll take Mr. Tez Johnson out of Oregon.
Ooh.
Got to pair him with Bo Nix. We saw Chuck Sizzle, aka Charlie Jones, last year. If you got a best friend and he comes, plays with you, you play him. So I'm just going to keep that narrative going and keep it pushing for 2023, man.
All right.
Tez has 2 years left, by the way.
Yeah, 2 years.
Oh, he does? Sweet. Even better. That
So
works.
I'm going to take one of these guys moving up from the FCS to the Power 5. Could backfire me greatly here because I invested a lot in this system last year and it burned me badly there, but I'm gonna get hurt again by going for the new guy that has a ton of hype. That's Mr. Dre McCray, wide receiver out of Texas Tech over there. Looks to be in that slot where Jared Stearns and Malachi Corley have thrived in the system the past couple of years. Drumbeat has been very consistent for him all spring. Obviously, the big question here is that log jam at the slot position for Texas Tech. But the good news is that Dre McCray, it sounds like, has been very versatile for the Red Raiders. They've been putting him in the slot and on the outside at different points, whatever way they can to get him the ball. Been the most impressive guy at camp from what it sounds like. So I'm going to take the shot here once again and hope I can get him for 2 years if he doesn't go pro after this year. So give me Dre McCray there. Nate, your last pick, sir.
I thought it was fascinating in the spring game that Dre McCray was playing a boundary position. That just blew my mind. I just did not expect that at all. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and draft. Katz has inspired me. I want to get something fun as far as with some freshmen here. Something that's that is the most video game worthy of the freshmen here, and that is going to be wide receiver Connor Harvey. No, I'm just playing. There is no Nicholas Harbor in the Fantrax system right now.
Right.
So Harby was the closest thing I could find to Harbor. So
I just replaced him with another wide receiver tight end from South Carolina who's a freshman.
Okay.
That works.
whatever works. But yeah, I'll take the South Carolina freshman that's 6'5", 230. Runs like I think a recorded 3.40 or something like that is what I've been told. So let's see what happens. Let's see how far Spencer Rattler can throw the ball.
Yep.
All right, Katz, you got Mr. Irrelevant here. What are you going to do with this?
Tempted to take one of the there's so many fun quarterbacks still out there. Nova Sad, Chillis. Some of you guys talked to Avery Johnson, right? Maybe that was Alfred.
Yeah, it was Alfred.
Yeah,
Rashada there, but let's pair Shador with Travis Hunter.
Okay.
I could find him.
Yeah, is he even in the Fantrax system?
He is not.
Perhaps he's listed as a cornerback, but
How about that? We end our draft with 2 guys that aren't even in Fantrax.
I know, right?
So
Isn't that always fun?
There you go.
A random hunter.
JMU. Yeah.
I'm not totally sold on what Colorado's done at wide receiver, especially with them finding a way to run off Jordan Tyson. The South Florida kids are kind of cool, right? But I don't know if Hunter can show out. Maybe he just ends up playing wide receiver, and that's where he uses those insane skills for the duration of his college career.
Alrighty, that finishes the 3 rounds of the draft. Part of me wants to go another 3 rounds, but I don't think y'all want to be here till 1 o'clock in the morning. We'll do the same thing we did the last round and everything. Favorite pick and least favorite pick, probably from the 3rd round here. I think we had a lot of really good picks here. I'm not going to lie. There's not really any that kind of stick out to me as terrible per se. The only one I think I would have a little bit, there's two actually that I have a little bit of hesitancy on. Travis Hunter, I think the idea of him being CFF relevant is a little hard to swallow sometimes. If he truly is going to play both cornerback and wide receiver, they're going to want to limit his snaps at wide receiver if they're going to be having him play defense as well. So the opportunity is not going to be there as much. Now, he's also, this is how Dion works from what I could tell, is that like he has his in-group and he wants those in-group to make sure that they get the touchdowns because he has a brand to build. So Travis Hunter definitely fits that bill, and I could see him getting a ton more touchdowns than he probably deserves in terms of his volume. So that could definitely work out for you there. Other one I didn't really like was Tej Johnson out of Oregon. Brandon, again, I agree. Nepotism, definitely a fun one there. I felt like you could get him a little bit later, though. And also, they did also just bring in Gary Bryant Jr. to fill in the slot role as well. So I think there's a little bit of hesitancy that he will be a clear day one starter by the time the season starts. Other than that, favorite pick, you guys heard me complain about it. Katz, good pick on Bert Emanuel. I was really hoping to grab him in the third round. It's just a fun upside Maction pick that could pay off dividends for you greatly in playoff time for years to come. So good job there, Katz.
Oh, thank you. Can I pontificate next?
Yes, you may.
Yeah, perhaps there were better picks than Travis Hunter in the third round, right?
But it's fun.
But I saw Shadur and I was like, well, dude, let's fucking go. Let's do this. But anyway, I have some quips with some of the picks in this round. You kind of beat me to the punch on Tej Johnson. There's enough talent in that wide receiver room where I don't think that he just naturally ascends, even with being boys to the quarterback. To like, I think he's gonna have to fight to get on the field. Yeah, he had a long touchdown in the spring game, but like, some of those talented guys weren't there, or weren't playing, et cetera, et cetera. Dre McCray, I think, is interesting. He is behind Miles Price in the depth chart, and then yeah, you're right. He's splitting time, like he's doing time in multiple positions, right? But I think he's like listed as a third X receiver. So who knows what it means from a depth chart perspective? Like I haven't read the glowing reports, I would buy in, but I have some level of pause just based on the how they kind of spread things out in year one, and B, just I think that he's not going to necessarily be given a starting role. Where was I had a third one that I want to talk about too. I'm curious to see how easily our boy Ben Arbuckle how easily he's able to find success with his system in year one in the Pac-12. Like the jump to the P5 for a fun system, I think is a lot in year one. Yes, it was from FCS to Pac-12, right, with the Eric Moore system, but like that system was just like that just played out like garbage in year one. Maybe Morris just isn't a creative play caller, and maybe his system is just a lot less likely to translate and find success. But and part of it is also that I'm just a hater because like I wasn't first on DT Sheffield, so now I'm gonna fade that dude just and hope that it doesn't work out for everybody else. But yeah, so in terms of like how I feel about some of those picks, that's that. I'm down with Brinsanity. I'm trying to get him every single draft that I can from a best ball perspective, and I've got him in most of my dynasties as well. So that's the pick that's near and dear to my heart here in round 3.
Yeah, I thought you would like that one, Katz. All right, Brandon, we'll go with you next, man. Favorite picks, least favorite picks of the round?
I'm also on Brinsanity. Davis Brin to Georgia Southern is fan-freaking-tastic. I was already liking him last year, but great fit for Georgia Southern. So great job, Jared. I love that pick. I'm worried about Travis Hunter. I'm not gonna lie. I don't, and I'm not trying to hate on Katz, but I just think it's actually smart to
dog pile.
No. This ain't no dog pile. I'm just concerned, like, if he's gonna play both positions, right? Like, how much at a college level? Like, I know Ironman is played all the time in high school, but we rarely see it in college anymore. Is Travis Hunter really gonna be able to play both positions all year long before wear and tear happens? And that's where I'm worried about. Like, what if he's playing corner and you know what I'm saying? Like, he could play either position, and just the fact that he's out there 75 or 80% more than the rest of those guys out there, that concerns me a little bit. So that's the only reason what I have. But Hunter himself as a player, kid's got great talent. He's going to be great NFL talent too, but I'm concerned as far as CFF production, just because I'm worried about him wearing out quickly playing both positions. So that would be my kind of my little quip that I have against Travis Hunter.
All right, Nate, your favorite and least favorite pick of the round.
I'll start with the bad first. The guy that drafted DT Sheffield, that was stupid.
How dare you?
No, I think to that, I do think Andrew's point is interesting, because Eric Morris did struggle there, and it does always give me pause whenever the head coach is a defensive guy, which Jake Dickert is at Washington State. If it doesn't work out for Arbuckle, like if he doesn't just go bananas with this offense, if it's just fine. And all of a sudden Eric Morris gets North Texas looking really good. Like that's got to be a knock for us moving forward on what Washington State's going to look like. And maybe it's just not working with Jake Dickert, but I'll take my chances with the Ben Arbuckle, Zach Kitley type of slot receiver, which DT Sheffield lines up at. So that would be my defense, I guess, to that. I do think that Austin Mack's just so wild. I couldn't take him here, but I wouldn't knock anybody that would, because the dude's like 12 years old, and he's not even on campus yet, because he's like a junior in high school. But it's just crazy, because I do think it's a perfect system, but what if they do go out and get a transfer? Like if things go really well for Washington this year, they could definitely sell the transfer portal pretty hard. And then that delays Mac's ability to get on the field by another year. That'd be my only concern there.
My other concern is that also Austin Mack is 17 years old. Like he's coming out a year earlier than most of these other guys, which means that he's technically a year behind in terms of development. So like, I do think it'll be one of those things where when most other guys are ready, it'll be their second year. It could be Mac's third year by the time he's fully ready to take on the offense.
What was his rating like in the 2024 class?
He's a very high 4-star,
Four-star guy.
but I have heard Bud Elliott say that he's one of those guys that if he would have stuck around for his senior year, has the tools that could have played himself into like a 5-star, could have been like a top 3 to 4 type guy. The tools were there. He's lanky. I think he's like 6'6". Yeah. He's got a body that needs to get filled out a little bit, but I still think it's a really fun situation as far as what could happen there. But I think my favorite, again, back to Andrew here, is Bert Emanuel. It's a YOLO pick. I mean, he could lose that job and not win, but it's a situation where if this were a real draft, you could take Bert Emanuel here and maybe in the next few rounds back it up with Bauer, just to feel confident that you've locked up that room. And if Bert Emanuel works out, who knows? You could get 4 years of some pretty interesting production out of a guy that can run like crazy there.
Alrighty. Before we finish up here, y'all, I want to throw a couple names out here that I have on my big board that I'm kind of surprised didn't come off in the draft. And I guess I'll just kind of throw. You want me to throw one name at a time out there, or you want me to throw multiple names out? What do you guys want?
Give us all out. List them.
All right. First name I got here, Justin Lockhart, wide receiver out of San Jose State, 2 years of eligibility, taking over for Elijah Cooks.
I didn't know he was on the list.
He was on the list. I had him listed.
Damn it. Okay.
I missed it.
So yeah, Justin Lockhart was there. John Lee Eldridge, running back out of Air Force, 1 year rental kind of guy. Devin Voisin, wide receiver out of South Alabama. He was on the list. Chase Roberts, BYU. I can see why you guys were totally sold on him. I like him a lot. Terrell Vaughn, wide receiver out of Utah State. Cedric Alexander, running back out of Vanderbilt. That's one of my boys, so I don't blame y'all for not taking him. Austin Novosad, quarterback out of Oregon. And then, those are kind of the main guys that were on my list that were.
Who's your favorite?
Who's my favorite?
Of those?
Oh, Justin Lockhart. Pretty easily. Like
Okay.
he would have been my next pick had we gone another bit.
Yeah, I would have took him had I seen him actually on the list. That was my bad.
Yeah, I probably would have taken him over Shady Clayton.
Yeah, it was between Jerry McCray and Justin Lockhart for those two. And honestly, like, given the fact that like Andrew's right, it's McCray, I think, is super talented. I think could be a lot of fun at Texas Tech, but Lockhart, for lack of better terms, has it kind of locked in terms of like he will be one of the outside starting wide receivers for San Jose State. Most of the competition is left him, like Braddock, Hamilton, Ross, all those guys transferred out pretty much. And it seems like a very nice candidate for an easy 1,000 yards. I probably should have taken him over McCray. So,
yeah, I would say my concern with Eldridge, while that could be fun if he does go ahead and take that fullback or whatever they call it there at Air Force, it gets, the 400 carries a year or whatever position. But I don't know that it's guaranteed that he gets it. And if he does, I still don't know how good he is, mainly because I didn't watch a lot of Air Force because I think that brand of football is just painful and makes my eyes bleed. Yeah. But I do think that for me, the first 3 rounds would be a little risk for me to take that chance. But I don't hate it if somebody did.
Well, again, Nate, you talked about, like you said, you like to grab guys that are going to help you win now and everything like that.
Yeah.
Does that still apply to kind of 1-year rentals like this, or are you still kind of waiting till later to try to grab those guys?
No, it does. It definitely applies. Just in his case specifically, I would want to be more confident that I'm getting what I think I'm getting, if you know what I mean. No, I'm not 100% confident that I think there is a chance of fool's gold there.
Okay. And then again, the other guys I mentioned, Devin Voisin, Terrell Vaughn. Anybody have any strong opinions on them?
I like Voisin. I think that he's most likely to be the outside WR1 in that offense, right? So I think floor and ceiling are there. We've already kind of seen it as well from a production standpoint last year. So at all of them, I think, even though
we lost Katz.
For Drellman, I think it would be between the two of them for me.
Who was the second one you said?
Terrell Vaughn.
Oh yeah.
Terrell Vaughn's a good one. Because I don't know what his eligibility is, but he could be fun this year. Yeah,
he has 1 year of eligibility remaining. Again, I tried, Nate. I really tried to get these guys' eligibility right before this show.
Jaden Rashada was one that was still left on my and I'll be honest with you guys. Malik Murphy. What if?
What if?
Yeah.
What if? I mean, we know there's definitely going to be a new quarterback at Texas next year. I think that's pretty much 100% true. But it seems like he's definitely the QB2 there right now. What if Sark gives a couple of middle fingers to the donors and says, I'm going with my guy that I think wins me the best chance to compete in the SEC year 1. So I don't know.
That's why I am so hesitant to take Arch. It's like, he didn't do what he was supposed to do. He didn't become the clear QB2 by the end of spring.
I think the beauty for both of them is there's still going to be a starter somewhere next year. Exactly. One of them will be the starter for Texas. The other one will be the starter at Ole Miss or Washington or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think that there's options for both of them, even if they don't win. Neither one of them sit in the bench next year.
Arch Manning, there's transfer quarterback for Alabama.
There's no hope of Malik Murphy following the trend of JRP and Hornsby and going from like down to a G5 and fulfilling that prophecy a year out. Like he's too good.
No, that's not going to happen.
Florida was trying to poach Murphy apparently, so I bet you he'll find a Power 5.
Yeah, he had too many. It sounds like he had way too many suitors this transfer portal season to be like, yeah, I'm gonna go to San Marcos, Texas, and carve it up with GJ Kinney in year 1 and his total turnaround for the joke of a program that Spavital left it in. Yeah, that's what I want to do.
All right, any of these other guys? Again, you guys. We pretty much covered most of the guys. I had some honorable mentions at the very bottom, but we don't really need to talk about all those guys. I think that pretty much will wrap up the show and everything. Guys, that was awesome. Everybody out there, I will post the full results of this draft on Twitter pretty much after this episode comes out on Monday. Gentlemen, really appreciate all of you guys coming out here. Again, I know it's late. I know it's kind of in the middle of the week when we're recording this and everything, but it was an awesome show. Great way to end CFF Dynasty Month and everything. I know some of us have supplemental drafts as early as next week. Brandon and Andrew, we got our Blue Bloods next week, so that should be a ton of fun. So yeah, pretty much. Again, it's late. The tea's wearing off. I had some tea before the show. The tea is starting to wear off. really appreciate all of you guys listening. It has been an awesome show. Look forward to all the content we got bringing up for you guys here in the future. Really appreciate you guys and hope you have a wonderful and blessed day. Actually, no, don't do that, Jared. You're a terrible host. You have not given any of your guests an opportunity to talk about what kind of stuff they've been doing. So real quick, everybody, Brandon, 1 minute or less, what are you working on and what can people expect from you and the Future Freshman podcast?
Yeah, so if you haven't left yet, go check out the Future Freshman podcast. Taking a week off, work got in the way, but we'll be back. We're always here every Friday at noon is when everything drops, so go check us out there. And then anything else that's written will be at C2C website, so check all that out.
All right, Andrew, what are you guys working on over there with the BTR?
Normally it's just we get on and talk for like an hour and that's that. But actually put on my project manager hat and planning out this summer to do conference preview episodes. I went 10 for 10, actually asking the people that I want to come on and getting one guest for each conference. No one said no, which is awesome. I think that it's gonna be a lot of fun. Make it work with our different personalities that we're getting on from a scheduling perspective, but actually as opposed to just the old ad hoc get on and me and Chris complain about our most recent best ball draft. Anyone of our listeners that is planning on tuning in will have something to look forward to.
Again, BTR Pod is a fantastic vibe over there. Like I say this every time we talk about it. It is literally just like tuning in and listening to your buddies just shoot the crap and talk about college football. It is a great atmosphere, great environment. You guys should definitely go check it out if you haven't already. Nate, what are you working on this summer, man?
Mostly just listening to all your guys' podcasts, listening to Future Freshmen, finding out what the big fish, small pond guys are going to be out there and burning the red shirt and obviously chasing the natties. So you guys all do a fantastic job with that. I don't know. Other than that, I'm really, compared to everybody else in our group at the CFF side of things, I'm really behind with my teams that I've signed up for the CFF guide.
Are there any left? I feel like Moxley took all of them.
Yeah, Mox's the beast, man.
Just the teams I'm very familiar with in the Big 12. So yeah, that'll be what I'm pretty much working on. I'm sure that there'll be some more articles coming out. In case you guys missed it, I recently released the stock up, stock down reports post spring. So you guys can go to campuscanton.com and check that out.
Yeah, speaking of that CFF guide, we're hard at work getting that done. We're pretty much almost done with the team profiles. I think we got a few teams left over that I'm going to try to knock out over the next couple of days, if there are any left. Again, thank you, Mox. You're a wonderful human being who knocks out pretty much half the teams. Great job, man. And then we'll get started on the player profiles, and we got a lot of other great stuff. We're shooting for that 4th of July weekend. July 1st is our target release date, so be on the lookout for that. Only $20, and quite frankly, it is the most in-depth guide out there for college fantasy football that you can get your hands on. Again, you could get that for only $20. It's an absolute steal. So be on the lookout for that. Now I can tell everybody here, have a wonderful and blessed day, and we'll see you guys next week.